My parents called me selfish for refusing to babysit my sister's kids, so I moved away. Now they can't handle the consequences they created. I'm a 27-year-old guy, and I've always been treated like the family's emergency contact, not the favorite. Not the golden child, just the guy who picks up the phone when things fall apart. The one who's expected to say yes before anyone even asks. It's like I was born to be the safety net nobody appreciates until they're mid-fall. My younger sister, Marissa, was always the storm. Loud, impulsive, dramatic, but my parents treated her like she was made of glass and gold. Every mistake she made was someone else's fault. Every breakdown she had was a phase, and every time she needed saving, guess who they called? There was the time she drained her bank account on designer bags. I bailed her out before her landlord changed the locks. Or the night she totaled her car after a party, I was the one who picked her up at 2 a.m. and paid for the tow. And when her boyfriend left and she couldn't cope, I was the one who let her crash on my couch for weeks. She left her dishes and her drama, and I just swallowed it all. Now, she's a single mom of 2 toddlers, adorable, loud, sticky-fingered chaos, and my parents practically demanded that I start babysitting while she gets her life together. Just for a while, they said. You work from home anyway, they said, like my job doesn't matter. Like my time doesn't count, they didn't ask. They just showed up with the kids one morning and said, "You're a lifesaver, sweetheart," then left. I stood there, in my sweatpants and headset, with a screaming 2-year-old on one hip and a diaper bag I didn't pack. My morning meetings were already shot. My boundaries didn't exist. And somehow it was supposed to feel noble, but something inside me cracked a little that day. And I didn't even know it yet. It didn't take long for the just for a while to turn into an unspoken schedule. Marissa started dropping the kids off every other day, sometimes with a heads up, sometimes without. She'd breeze in, drop a kiss on their foreheads, toss me a quick, "You're the best," and vanish. No diapers restocked, no snacks packed, just the assumption that I'd figure it out. Because I always had. I tried to bring it up once. I said, "Hey, I've got deadlines. I can't keep rearranging my whole day like this." My mom didn't even let me finish before sighing heavily. "You know how hard it is for her, right? She's doing her best." And when I pushed further, my dad chimed in with, "It's just babysitting, not a full-time job. Like raising 2 kids under 5 is a breeze. Like my actual full-time job, the one that pays my rent, doesn't count because I do it in sweatpants." I started losing clients. I'd mute myself during meetings to clean up spilled juice or calm down a tantrum. I worked late into the night to catch up, my eyes burning from screen glare and sleep deprivation. And still, when I brought it up again, carefully, gently, I was told I was being dramatic. That family sticks together. That I'm lucky I can help. It was like their gratitude had an expiration date. The more I gave, the more they expected. And when I tried to pull back, suddenly I was the bad guy. Marissa even said once, "I wish I had your life." No real responsibilities. I nearly laughed. Or maybe I nearly cried, but I didn't argue. I just swallowed it. Like always. Until one night, something happened that made me realize how invisible I really was. It started with a fever. Both kids were sniffling when Marissa dropped them off that morning, but by evening, the younger one, Ava, was burning up. Her little face was flushed, her body limp in my arms. I panicked. I called Marissa straight to voicemail. I texted, no reply. I called again, nothing. An hour passed, then 2. Ava was coughing so hard she vomited on my shirt. I almost took them to the ER, but then her fever started to ease with medicine, and I decided to wait it out. Finally, sometime after midnight, I saw her name pop up. Not on my phone. On Instagram. She was at a candlelit dinner, clinking wine glasses with some guy I'd never seen before. Caption said, "Finally letting myself breathe. Self-care night." My blood went cold. I sent her a screenshot with one line. "Your daughter was sick tonight. I called you 6 times, no reply." But the story disappeared 5 minutes later. The next morning, she waltzed in wearing the same dress, hair still curled, and said, "Sorry." My phone died. I stared at her. "You were at a restaurant." She shrugged. I needed a break. "You have no idea how hard this is." That's when something snapped in me. "I do know how hard it is," I said, "because I've been raising your kids for weeks while you play pretend." Her face tightened. Don't guilt trip me. You're their uncle. This is what family does. And like clockwork, my mom called a few minutes later. She's just trying her best. You need to be more understanding. I hung up mid-sentence, for the first time ever, because in that moment, I realized no one was coming to help me, and I was done being everyone else's plan B a few days after the fever incident. I told my parents I needed a break, not a permanent cutoff. Not a dramatic fight, just space. I texted them politely but firmly, I can't keep babysitting. It's affecting my job. I'm exhausted. I expected a little resistance, maybe some guilt tripping. What I didn't expect was war. My mom called immediately. So you're just going to abandon your family? I blinked. No, I just said I need time to... She cut me off. You think you're so overworked? Try being a single mom. Try raising you and your sister on one income. And then the final blow. We didn't raise you to be so selfish. Selfish. I felt that word like a punch to the ribs. The same word they'd used when I didn't come home for Christmas because of a work deadline. The same word when I bought myself a car instead of loaning Marissa money for her vacation. I stayed quiet for a second, hoping she'd take it back. She didn't. Then my dad got on the line. His voice was colder. Look, either you're part of this family or you're not. We don't pick and choose when to show up. I said, that's what I've been doing for years. Silence. Then he hung up. The next day, I found out I'd been removed from the family group chat. Birthdays, dinners, updates, gone. Marissa didn't say a word. She just stopped showing up. No apology. No thank you. Nothing. It was like I never existed unless I was doing something for them, and for the first time, I asked myself, what if I really didn't? I didn't make some grand announcement. No dramatic family blowout. Just one quiet decision. I wasn't doing this anymore. I sent a short message in the family group chat, right before they booted me. Going forward, I'm not available for babysitting. Please make other arrangements. That's it. No apology. No explanation. Just a boundary. The fallout was immediate. My phone exploded with missed calls. First Marissa, 6 in a row. Then my mom. Then a 3-minute voicemail from my dad that started calm and ended with him shouting, "You've changed, man." That was the part that hurt the most, because I had changed. Somewhere between late-night diaper runs and pretending I was okay with being invisible, I'd realized I was building my entire life around people who wouldn't even show up if I was in the hospital. People who loved what I did for them, but not who I was. I listened to Marissa's voicemail too. Wow, so now you're just leaving me to drown? I thought we were close. I thought I could count on you. There wasn't a single question about why I was stepping back. No concern, just expectation. I didn't reply. And for the first time in my life, I felt something strange. Peace. No more last-minute drop-offs. No more being treated like a free nanny. No more pretending I was okay being second place in a game I never signed up to play. The silence was unnerving at first. But it was mine, until days later my cousin called, confused. Hey, are you okay? Your parents told everyone you're taking a break for mental reasons. That's when I realized they were rewriting the story. It started with whispers I wasn't supposed to hear. A cousin called to check in. Not because my family told him to, but because they didn't. He said, your mom told Aunt Liz you're having a breakdown, that you're isolating, maybe depressed. I sat there stunned. Not one person had asked me how I was doing. They just decided to fill in the blanks and make me the unstable one. Apparently, I wasn't selfish anymore. I was sick. In the span of a week, I'd gone from reliable uncle to mentally unwell disappointment. Marissa was suddenly the victim again. A single mom abandoned by her only sibling. I heard that line secondhand at a family barbecue I wasn't invited to, and the kicker? My mom sent me a message out of nowhere. Hope you're taking care of yourself. We're all praying for you to get better. No apology. No acknowledgement of what they'd done. Just a passive-aggressive, we miss the obedient version of you kind of text. I felt like a ghost haunting a house I used to live in. Every memory I had of family dinners, holidays, Sunday morning pancakes, all of it felt fake now. Conditional, performative. The moment I stopped serving a purpose, I was rewritten into the problem. But as painful as it was, it finally gave me clarity. They didn't want me. They wanted my labor, my silence, my compliance, and once they couldn't control the narrative, they erased me from it. I thought cutting ties would feel like loss, but it felt like truth. Like finally taking off a jacket I'd been forced to wear my entire life, and with that clarity, I made a plan. The plan wasn't dramatic. I didn't post a big announcement or write some angry farewell, I just moved. A new city, a new apartment, and a job offer I'd been sitting on for months. One I never felt available enough to take before. It was a hybrid role, still remote but with real growth potential, and best of all, far away from them. The day I signed the lease, I stood in the empty living room, sunlight pouring in through the big windows, and I just breathed. No crying toddlers, no surprise visits, no voicemail landmines, just the hum of my own space, and a silence that didn't feel cold. It felt earned. I didn't tell anyone except one close friend. Not my mom. Not Marissa. They didn't deserve the courtesy. That first week, I slept like a rock. No 3 a.m. panic. No scrambling to adjust my work schedule around unexpected babysitting. I started reading again. Working out. Cooking meals that weren't just protein bars and leftover mac and cheese. For the first time in years, I remembered what it felt like to be me. Not a stand-in parent, not a family servant. Just me. I even signed up for therapy. I didn't think I needed it at first, but damn, it hit hard when I finally said the words out loud. I don't think they ever really loved me. Not for who I was. The therapist didn't interrupt. She just nodded and let the silence do its job. I wasn't unraveling. I was rebuilding, but just when I thought I'd finally stepped out of the storm, life threw me back into it, and this time, it wasn't about me, it was about the kids. It was a Thursday when I got the text. A neighbor from back home, Mrs. Langston, this sweet older woman who used to slip me banana bread during tough weeks, messaged me out of nowhere. Hey honey, sorry to bother you, but do you know who's watching Marissa's kids? There's been this strange guy around, yelling. Real rough with them. I froze. I hadn't heard from or about Marissa in weeks. Last I knew, she was still bouncing between part-time jobs and Instagram therapy quotes. I asked what she meant. Mrs. Langston replied with a photo. The kids sitting on the porch, alone, while some guy in a tank top smoked in the background. I called CPS. It felt like betrayal and panic and guilt all crashing at once, but I couldn't ignore it. Those kids didn't ask for this. They didn't deserve to be background characters in their mom's chaotic soap opera. The caseworker I spoke to was calm but firm. Thank you for calling. We've had previous concerns flagged at that address. Previous? I hung up and stared at the wall, heart pounding. What had I missed? Had I enabled this by staying silent for so long? 2 days later, I got the call. CPS was removing the kids from Marissa's care temporarily. They asked if I was willing to verify my relationship. I said yes. Then they asked if I'd consider stepping in, foster care, or me. That was the choice, and somewhere between heartbreak and anger. I realized I was holding a kind of power I'd never had before, not to punish my family, but to protect the ones who still needed me. I didn't tell anyone I was considering it, not even my closest friend, because I already knew what my family would say. They'd twist it, use it, make it about them. So before I made any decisions about the kids, I did something else first. I blocked them all. Marissa. My mom. My dad, gone, not muted. Not do not disturb, blocked. I didn't send a final message. Didn't warn them. Just drew a line in cement. The CPS agent called again, this time to set up an in-person visit and paperwork. I agreed. But that night, something strange happened. I didn't feel panic or fear. I felt quiet. Like I had finally stepped off a ride I never wanted to be on. I knew what was coming. If word got out, the family would lose their minds. They'd say I was stealing the kids or making Marissa look bad. But I didn't care anymore. I wasn't doing this for their approval. I wasn't rescuing anyone to get a pat on the back. I just couldn't sleep at night knowing those kids were being tossed around like luggage. So I told the caseworker, yes, I'll foster them. Temporarily, at least. But only under my rules, he nodded. That's exactly the kind of person we need. Funny. I'd spent my whole life being told I wasn't enough. And now, in this tiny office with government-issue chairs and flickering fluorescent lights, I finally felt like I was. And in that moment, I made myself a quiet promise. This time, I wasn't going to lose myself doing the right thing. For a while, it felt like I was breathing for the first time in years. The kids moved in slowly, one bag each, a stuffed animal, a few clothes that barely fit, and eyes too tired for their age. No tantrums. Just quiet, too quiet. They didn't ask where their mom was. They didn't cry at bedtime. They just adapted. Like this kind of instability was normal. I set up a routine. Breakfast at 8, screen time only after reading. Bedtime stories every night, no exceptions. I made pancakes on Sundays and packed lunches with little sticky notes that said, "You're awesome." It wasn't perfect. I wasn't perfect, but we had peace. And peace was everything. Meanwhile, my own life started to feel real again. I kept my job. I even got promoted. My apartment felt fuller, louder, messier, but also warmer. Friends started calling me Dad Light. I laughed it off, but part of me liked the sound of it. One night, while brushing Ava's hair, she asked me quietly, "Are you going to disappear too?" I froze. It hit me then. They weren't just adjusting. They were waiting. Waiting for the other shoe to drop. Waiting for the next adult to leave. I hugged her tighter than I ever had. "No, sweetheart. I'm not going anywhere." That night I cried. Not from stress, but from the weight of how long I'd accepted being disposable, even to people I bled for. But here, in this small apartment with mismatched furniture and dinosaur stickers on the fridge, I finally felt kept. Still, I knew it was only a matter of time before the past came clawing back. And sure enough, it did. I didn't expect peace to last forever. But I also didn't expect this. It started with a coworker asking, "Hey, everything okay with your family?" I saw something weird on Facebook. I hadn't touched Facebook in months, but I logged in, and there it was. Marissa had made a public post that was long, dramatic, dripping with fake heartbreak. It started with, "I never thought I'd be betrayed by my own brother. After all I've done, he took my kids and cut me out. He's manipulating the system and trying to erase me as a mother." Dozens of comments poured in. Old family friends, distant cousins, even people I went to high school with. "Wow, that's sick. Praying for you, Mama. He always seemed jealous of you." Then, underneath it all, my mom's comment, "We're just devastated. We raised him better than this. I don't know who he is anymore." I stared at the screen like it was burning a hole in my chest. They knew nothing about the abuse, the neglect. The night I had to call CPS because some random guy was screaming at toddlers on a front lawn. But facts didn't matter. Not when the narrative made them the victims. I was vilified, slandered, made into a monster by people who used me for years, then painted me as evil the moment I chose myself. I didn't respond. What would I even say? Instead, I closed the laptop and looked at Ava and Ben curled up on the couch watching cartoons. They didn't care about social media. They didn't care about the lies. They just needed stability. And I had become it. But privately, I broke down. I questioned everything. Was I really the villain? That was my lowest point, feeling like I'd burned every bridge. For nothing. And then came the knock that changed everything. The knock came early. Just after 9 a.m., I opened the door to find a CPS caseworker, not my regular one. She had a clipboard, kind eyes, and a tone that meant business. "Are you available to talk privately?" she asked, glancing behind me. The kids were in the living room building a Lego tower. I nodded and stepped outside, closing the door softly behind me. She got straight to the point. "Following recent reports and Marissa's failure to comply with mandatory parenting courses, the court has ruled to remove her custodial rights, at least for the next 12 months. I blinked. "Wait, full custody? Like legal custody?" She nodded. "Temporary full custody, with review in a year." My mind went blank for a second. Then 1,000 thoughts crashed in at once. Relief, panic, anger, guilt. I asked, "Did she know this was coming?" "She's been warned repeatedly," the caseworker said, "but she missed 2 hearings and hasn't followed through with the parenting plan." I didn't know whether to feel sorry for her or furious all over again. All I could think about was the last time I saw her. Half smile, mascara smudged, handing me a diaper bag with an empty juice box inside like it was no big deal. Now, she wasn't just avoiding her kids. She'd lost them. I signed the papers a week later. There was no celebration. No champagne or "you did it" texts. Just a man sitting in a quiet apartment, holding a pen with a kid sleeping on his chest. And as I signed the dotted line, I realized something. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't punishment. This was rescue, and I wasn't the backup plan anymore, but I had a feeling they weren't done with me just yet. There was no fanfare, no dramatic reunion, no one clapping on the sidelines, just a quiet courtroom, a judge who barely looked up, and two wide-eyed kids holding my hands like they were waiting for someone to say it was all a mistake, but it wasn't. When the final custody order came through, it felt unreal. Me, just the uncle, the free babysitter, the invisible son, was now legally responsible for 2 children. Not because I wanted to play hero, not because I needed praise, but because no one else stepped up. The caseworker pulled me aside and said, "You know, most people in your position say no. They walk away." I looked at her and replied, "I did walk away, from the wrong people, not from them." I moved the kids into a bigger apartment, enrolled them in a local school, found a pediatrician, a dentist, and a therapist who specialized in childhood trauma. It wasn't easy. There were tantrums, nightmares, accidents, and moments where I questioned if I was truly ready. But every time Ava reached for my hand without looking, every time Ben asked if I was coming home before dinner, every time they called me Uncle D and smiled like it meant safety, I knew I made the right choice. I never told Marissa. I never told my parents. I didn't post it online. Because this wasn't about proving anything. This was about building something they could never take away. Love that didn't demand silence. Care that didn't come with a guilt trip. Family. By choice, and just when I thought they might leave us in peace. They showed up at my door. It was a Sunday afternoon, sunlight pouring in through the windows. The kids were halfway through a finger-painting disaster on the kitchen table, and for once, the house smelled like something other than microwaved chicken nuggets. Then came the knock. I opened the door and felt my stomach drop. It was them, my parents. My mom had that overly sweet smile she used when she wanted something. My dad looked stiff, like this was the last place he wanted to be but came anyway. I didn't say anything. My mom stepped forward, eyes darting inside. "We just wanted to see how you're doing. How the kids are. Maybe talk?" Talk. Like the months of silence, manipulation, and public betrayal were water under the bridge, I stepped out and shut the door behind me. "I'm doing fine," I said flatly. "The kids are thriving. What do you want?" My dad cleared his throat. "We thought maybe we could be involved again. Family dinners, holidays, they're still our grandkids." I stared at him, disbelief choking me. "You didn't call when they were sick. You didn't show up when they were scared. And now that the paperwork's final, you want to play grandparents again?" They didn't answer. Then, as if on cue, my phone buzzed, a long email from Marissa. The subject line, "Please let me see them." She said she was getting help. That she missed them. That she'd changed. She didn't mention me. Not once, just the kids. I looked at my parents. "You all had your chance." And I walked back inside, locking the door without looking back. Because this time, they don't get to rewrite the story. For weeks after that doorstep ambush, I kept waiting for the next move. Another Facebook post, a sudden CPS complaint, a flying monkey relative reaching out to mediate, but nothing came, just silence. And it was the most honest thing my family had ever given me. I kept that email from Marissa unread in my inbox. Not because I was holding a grudge, but because I finally understood something therapy had been trying to teach me all along. Forgiveness doesn't mean opening the door again. It means letting go of the hope that they'll ever understand what they did. It means healing without applause. It means choosing peace, even when chaos comes disguised as an apology. I still have bad days. Days where the kids cry for a mom who won't show up. Days where I lie awake wondering if I did the right thing. But then I pack school lunches, help with spelling homework, hear Ava giggle in her sleep. And I remember this is what's real, not their shame campaign. Not the rewriting of my intentions. Not the labels they slapped on me to feel better about their own neglect. I don't hate them, but I also don't owe them access. They chose the story that suited them, the one where I'm bitter and unwell. And they're the victims of my cruelty. Fine, let them have it. Because the truth? I'm not bitter. I'm free, and in that freedom, I found something better than their approval. Found me. But the final chapter wasn't about me at all. It was about what kind of future I was going to build for the two little people now looking up to me as their home. There's this moment every night. After the dishes are done, the lights are low, and the kids are finally asleep, when I stand in their doorway and just watch them breathe. Ben snores a little. Ava clutches her stuffed dinosaur like it holds the universe together, and I just stand there. Not because I'm waiting for something to go wrong. Not because I'm exhausted or afraid, but because for the first time in my life, I feel whole. I used to believe I was only valuable when I was needed, that love was something you earned by overextending yourself, by staying silent, by sacrificing until there was nothing left. That's what my family taught me. But these kids, they're teaching me something else. That love can be loud and messy and chaotic, but also safe. That showing up even when you're tired counts. That building a life you weren't handed, one built on honesty and boundaries and healing, is the most radical thing you can do. Sometimes people ask if I'll ever let my parents or Marissa back in. And the answer is, I don't know, maybe one day, but it won't be because I feel guilty. It won't be because I'm tired. And it definitely won't be because they demand it. It'll be because they did the work, the real kind. The kind that starts with an apology and ends with changed behavior. Until then, I'm building a life that doesn't need their permission, because I wasn't born to be anyone's backup plan. I was born to be someone's safe place. And for Ben and Ava, I am, and that's enough.